Hello, and welcome to my Modlist showcase, where I give an overview and opinion on mod lists to help find the right one for you. This time, we are looking at the Licentia mod list by user Cacophony, released for Skyrim Special Edition. The version I've been playing on is version 10.9.1, released on the 5th of November 2021. You can check on the Wabberjack Discord linked below for any changes and updates. Firstly, what is Licentia? The description reads, Licentia is intended as a high fantasy Game of Thrones Skyrim, an ultimate power fantasy where you can use an incredible amount of perks and spells to make the hero you want. Now, this list comes under the NSFW category on Wabberjack, as it comes with adult content. However, this list makes a point of saying that it's not unimmersive by adding skimpy armours and overly sized bazongas and such, which I'm sure most people have seen while browsing Nexus mods. Instead, the adult content is meant as a side activity for your character if you so choose. Now, because this is YouTube, I obviously can't show anything, and I have to be specific with my wording so I'm not demonetized, but you'll still get a good idea of what this list includes. All the NSFW stuff is optional, and you can disable and ignore it if you want, or keep it on if that's your thing. It's your Skyrim, so enjoy it however you want. Licentia is available to download from the Wabberjack Modlist installer. While I won't cover the specifics of the installation in this video, the installation was incredibly easy, with clear instructions provided. You can follow along with my Wabberjack explanation guide on my channel and link below. With over 700 mods, the list comes to around 200 GB. Once in game, setting up the specific mod configurations is very easy, with a helpful guide for the best controls and settings. Now for what the mod list adds. For this showcase, I'll be showing clips taken throughout my current playthrough. I have spent plenty of time with this list, and so I have a good grasp on what it's like to play. Some lists aim for performance over fidelity, and some go all in on the graphics with a heavy hit to your frame rate. Licentia hits a good balance between the two, where it's definitely a good looking list, but it doesn't go overboard with the graphics, and so it still runs really well. With my specs on screen, I was able to hold a solid 60 FPS in almost all areas, and while I know my PC is high-end, I was running at 1440p ultra-wide, which does usually have a really big hit to performance. And also the list keeps getting updated with increased performance and more. Although this has a lot to do with the provided EMB, Licentia adds a more bright and vibrant colour palette to the game, focusing on the fantasy feeling and actually reminding me of how Oblivion felt at times. Numerous 4K texture mods have been added, which focus on looking like higher resolution versions of the base game, and a bunch of weather mods have been added which improve the look of mist and fog, and the Great Cathedral Weathers mod is used, which really complements the vibrant colours. There's also a bunch of mods which improve lighting, including enhanced lighting for EMB, which really focuses on giving deeper blacks in interiors. And again, this is more an EMB thing, but caves are now realistically dark, meaning they have very low light, and can even be close to pitch black in areas with no light source. I myself enjoy having to prepare for lighting when entering a cave, but of course it's a personal preference thing. On top of all that, mountains, trees, creatures and so on have all been improved, again with a focus of updating the original Skyrim look. Overall, I was very impressed with how good the list looks, considering the performance, and it's a nice change to see a more vibrant looking Skyrim that doesn't go too over the top. I think one of the best ways to show off Licentia is by showing the perk menu. With a bundle of perk mods like Ordinator, Valkyrie, Adamant and more, you have a huge amount of choice as to how you want to play. The mod experience has also been added, which makes it so you primarily gain XP from completing quests and killing monsters, rather than leveling up skills like crafting or sneak. All this goes with the list author's idea of removing any grind from the game and encouraging adventure and trying out a new playstyle. As for looting, firstly, the mod Quick Loot has been added, which makes looting more like modern Fallout games, where you no longer have to enter a menu and pause the game to loot. As for the loot distributed in the world, it again takes inspiration from Fallout's looting system by using lock-related loot, where now the difficulty of a locked chest will determine how rare the loot is inside. Also, trading and bartering has been overhauled with the mod Trade and Barter, where now traders' prices will change based on a number of variables, such as your race, your skill level, relationships, and more. Now for the NSFW side of things. Honestly, as someone who's never delved into this side of Skyrim modding, I found it impressive just how in-depth it is. There's a bunch of mechanics, like building personal relationships with NPCs, that really flesh out the roleplay side of things. And no, I don't mean that kind of roleplay. Well, kinda. Mods like OSA and OSTIM add much more than just watching a simple animation of NPCs getting jiggy with it. And the mod fertility mode makes it so NPCs can actually get pregnant and have children. I recommend reading both of these mods' Nexus pages if you're interested in the details. To sum up the gameplay, its main focus is to give the player loads of choice as to what they want to do and when, as there's no slow progression compared to more survival mod lists like Tinvac, and overall it just really makes you feel like you're the powerful Dragonborn spoken about in legend. Although Licentia has a focus on the power fantasy, that doesn't mean the list is overly easy. It's more that if you focus on a specific playstyle, you can really tweak your build to do these powerful and over-the-top moves in combat. However, what stops it from becoming too easy is the fact you gotta go find the best combination of perks, and using them to their full advantage will sometimes require good timing, positioning, and so on, rather than blindly swinging like in vanilla. The list author has acknowledged that the list as provided will likely be quite easy for people who have played Skyrim a bunch already. However, there are ways to up the difficulty if you so prefer. One of the key combat mods is Wildcat, which comes with a ton of features. The AI is smarter and aggressive, having no stamina will slow the character, there's new types of injuries and staggers to attacks, attack timing is more important, and much more. For those wanting a more difficult, or even easier game, Wildcat's damage setting can be tweaked in the mod menu, so you could make fights over in a few hits if you want, or make battles long and drawn out like some big anime fight. The mod's combat gameplay overhaul and archery gameplay overhaul have also been added, which both improve the combat and make it much more responsive and just feel better overall. And finally, the mod's true directional movement makes it so third-person combat feels much better and modernised. A bunch of new quests and locations have been added, all of which are high quality and add hours of new content. Large quest mods like Worm's Tooth, Folskar, and Clockwork have all been added, each of which being like a DLC to the game. And areas within Skyrim have been added upon, like the Skyrim Underground mod, which adds a large underground system. Also mods like Side Quests of Skyrim add a bunch of Radiant side quests into the world, including new quests for NPCs which allow you to become friends with them. While the vast majority of mods fit well into Skyrim's lore, there are a couple that aren't so lore friendly. For example, Relics of Hyrule add a number of Zelda-themed weapons, armors, and spells hidden around the world. Though to be fair, the mod tries its best to feel natural in the world, but of course it'll never be completely lore friendly. All of the audio in the game has either been made clearer or overhauled with mods like Audio Overhaul for Skyrim SE. Most notably, the ambience when travelling around sounds much more immersive than the base game. Have a listen for yourself. To fit with the huge amount of customization for your playstyle, a bunch of new weapons and armors have been added into the world. As said at the start of this video, this list hasn't added all the skimpy and revealing outfits you can find on Nexus, as the author wants to keep things sensible and fitting the Skyrim theme. But plenty of armors have been added which are all lore friendly and fit right into the world. Most are either craftable or found on NPCs, though there are some more unique armors to be found through quests. Complementing all the new combat perks, hundreds of new weapons have been added in, again fitting into the world and feeling lore friendly. Weapons like spears, clubs, rapiers, quarterstaffs, and many more all feel well polished and unique, providing plenty of options for your preferred look and playstyle. A huge variety of spells have also been added with mods like Apocalypse, Triumvirate, and Spell Siphon. These mods make using spell combos more effective, rather than spamming the same spell over and over. And mage archetypes like druids, warlocks, and shamans have all been made available. For some other notable changes with the list, many NPC faces and bodies have been changed, with most focusing more on the beauty side of their original designs. Also jiggle physics. The character creator comes with a bunch of new options, including numerous pre-made faces. Some of the most popular follower mods have been added, including Inigo, Caden, and Uri. You'll now come across a bunch of new enemies and encounters as you travel the world. And most importantly, more cats and dogs have been added. Now for some additions and changes to the list, but first I must stress, any changes you make to the list has nothing to do with the list author. You should only do so if you have an understanding of modding and accept that any consequences are yours to deal with. If you like survival mods like me, I would look into using Frostbite, which is rather simple but gives all the basics you'd want in a survival weather mod. And for food and hunger mods, I'd recommend trying Vitality mode, which again is rather basic but gives all the hunger properties you could want. I've personally not used either of these, so I can't say if they work for sure, but they're usually a safe bet for lightweight survival mods. Also, the mods floating damage and minimap are enabled by default, which are good but can be disabled if you prefer a cleaner HUD. Overall, Licentia strikes a good balance of over-the-top fun with more grounded roleplay. I really think it shows off how great Skyrim is, as one list can be completely slow and survival focused, and another list can be like this one where it's more of a power fantasy, yet both feel just as fun to play. I found myself using types of weapons and spells I'd never usually use, as the combat variety in this list is incredibly satisfying, and also I'm just really impressed by how well this list runs. And also, if you're into the roleplay side of Skyrim, you could argue that the lewd mods provide even more roleplay options than most mod lists out there. But if you want to explore Skyrim's sandbox side of things, with loads of freedom and tons of variety in gameplay and combat, then this is the list for you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like as it helps the channel grow. I also have a Twitch where I'll sometimes play more chill games or try to test a mod list without the stream crashing, and a Discord if you want to talk about mod stuff or anything else. Other than that, big thanks to my Patreon supporters, LegitRob95, Jack Ma, Michael Eric, Nicholas J, and Christian Howell. It's a huge thank and your support of me spending so much time on this. Thank you and farewell.